Are they actually worth your time? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of the most popular books that we see online, especially on BookTok. I have gathered 16 different books that I have personally read, and therefore I will give my opinion if they're actually worth the read or not. I've written them all down on my phone. I'm going to get like a short summary of every book, and then I'm going to say yes, no, or maybe. And just remember, this is my personal opinion. If you love this book and it's your favorite book, love that for you. Like, that's so great for you. I just didn't. Reading is subjective, so these are just my opinions. And even if you haven't read these books and you want to read them, don't let my opinion discourage you from reading them. It's just a fun video of my opinions, and I'm going to be honest, there are some popular books in here that I did not like. I tried to gather multiple genres, so there's something for everyone in this video. Let's just get started. The first book is Beartown. Beartown is about a small town in Sweden where everything revolves around hockey. Like, hockey is like the main thing. It is what brings everyone together. The economy is affected by it. People's mood are affected by it. Like, everything is affected by how this small team does in hockey. The book has like 10 to 20 different point of views of people who live in this city, and it's told in the most beautiful, amazing, like, written language that I've ever experienced. But the book is also about a lot more than just hockey. Hockey is like what everyone talks about, but there are things underneath that layer. And the book is about believing women as well. And definitely look at trigger warnings if you want to read this book, because it does touch on sexual assault. And that is also a big focus point on this book. But it is a trilogy. I read the first two and then half of the third one, and I haven't finished that one yet. If you couldn't tell, my answer is a big yes. Beartown is one of my favorite books. It's one of my 5-star reads from last year. I absolutely adore and love Frederick Bachman and his writing. It's phenomenal. Beartown is an absolute yes, and you should definitely read it. It is literary fiction and phenomenal. The next book is The Crimson Moth duology, where the first book is called Heartless Hunter. The duology is about our main character who is a witch, and then our other main character who is a witch hunter. And our witch goes undercover. She pretends to not be a witch, but at night she goes out and like saves witches who have been put in prison to be executed because they're a witch. So they call her the Crimson Moth, but no one knows who she actually is. They just know that someone is saving these witches. And then obviously we have the witch hunter, and a romance sparks between the two. He doesn't know she's a witch to begin with, at least. I'm gonna say a maybe for this duology because I didn't love it, and it's not a book that I really ever think about. To even put it in this video, I had to look through my Goodreads to see what books I've read, because it's not a book that I ever like think about. I think I rated the first one maybe 3 stars, and I like the second one a bit better. They just like didn't really catch my attention. I didn't love the characters. I wasn't like rooting for them to get together, so it just fell a little bit flat to me. That's just my opinion. The next book is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. It's about 2 sisters in France during World War II, and how each of them kind of joined the resistance, but in each their own way. And this German soldier moves into one of the sisters' house to like live there and eat their food and everything. But the book just really focuses on how women during World War II fought against the soldiers and about what Germany was doing and infiltrating in France in a way that like isn't showcased in actual history books, because that focuses more on the men and the soldiers who fought on the front lines. But there was so much more going on at home with all these women who were also fighting, just not from the front lines. And this book is an absolute yes. Also one of my 5-star reads from last year. I loved The Nightingale, and I recently read another book by Kristen Hanna. She is so phenomenal, and I sobbed my eyes out the last 30 minutes of this book. It was so good. Like, I still think about it, and it's been like 3 months since I read it. Next up, we have the Jasad Heir. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Jasad Heir, the Jasad Heir, maybe? It's also a fantasy duology where the kingdom of Jasad is burned down, and all of the heirs and all the people in the kingdom were killed and burned. At least people think so, but obviously our main character is actually the heir to the throne, and she's trying to like keep hidden. She doesn't tell anyone her real identity, but she has magic which is outlawed. But one day another heir sees that she has magic and he kind of kidnaps her and keeps her prisoner. And that's kind of all I really remember. This book is a no for me. I did not enjoy this at all, and I was so sad because everyone loves this duology. They're rating it 5 stars and they think it's some of the best books they read. I believe this was in 2025 that I read it, but I gave it 2.5 stars. I thought it was so incredibly boring. I did not care about the characters at all or the storyline, and I did not read the second book because I just did not care. Like, I genuinely did not care. But I feel like with this book, it's definitely a me problem because everyone loves it, but I disliked it so much. I was bored to tears. And I actually rarely give a book less than 3 stars. So for it to be 2.5, it's bad. Next up, we have First Time Caller, which is a romance book. We have our main guy who is a host in the romance hotline. And then we have our other main character who is a single mother. And one night her daughter calls this romance hotline. It's like, my mom needs to find a boyfriend. And it ends up becoming like a segue on this show where our main character goes on to the show to kind of find love. So men will call in and she goes on dates and then she has to report back on the radio show. But obviously she ends up falling in love with our host. It was such a cute book. I think I rated it like 4.5 stars. I read it all in one day. It was so cute. I actually have it up on my shelf. Phenomenal. I'm so excited to read the next book. If you couldn't tell, this was a yes. Like, definitely a yes. Just such a cute romance, and I can just picture it like a movie in my head. Like the perfect rom-com. I loved it so much. I was giggling and smiling and kicking my feet, and I was having a phenomenal time reading this book. I loved it. Then we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which is about 2 writers who are both trying to get this exclusive book or memoir about this very famous woman who like kind of went underground 30 years ago or something like that. She just lives on this very small island. She wanted out of the spotlight. So these 2 writers are now competing to get the story. The old woman decides to give them both a month to talk to her and interview her to see which of them will get the story. But obviously our 2 writers also spark a bit of a romance while they're not working with her. This book is a no for me. I didn't even rate it, and I don't even know now what I would have rated it. 1, 2 stars, something like that. I did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was so incredibly boring. First off, we see the 2 writers. That's like one storyline on its own. Their little romance, which I just felt like was so forced. Like, I did not feel like they had compatibility or any sort of flirtation going on there. I just feel like they did not click together. And then our other main storyline is that old woman's, her like life story is also being told when she's telling it to them. And I also just like did not find that story interesting at all. I thought it was also really boring because it spanned, I don't even know, I feel like from like the 1800s up until, you know, the 21st century. And there were so many characters being talked about, and it went so fast, and I just didn't connect to it. I didn't really care about what she had went through. So yeah, overall I just didn't enjoy it, and it's a no for me, which is the only Emily Henry book that I have ever said no to. I have her books over here, and I normally love her books, but that one was a no for me. Then we have The Favorites, which is a book about 2 figure skaters. And this book spans over years as well. And each chapter kind of starts or ends, I can't remember, but with an interview kind of style. It's a little bit giving Daisy Jones and the Six. Except they're also like normal chapters that aren't told in interview style. But I thought it was really interesting. There's obviously a romance and a lot of drama going on between these figure skaters and other figure skaters, and them going to like the Olympics and all of these big prestigious competitions, and they're famous and they're talked about what is happening, will they, won't they, and all these things. But I give this book a maybe because I didn't love it, and a lot of people really do when they rate it 5 stars and they think it's a phenomenal book, and it didn't really hit for me in that way. I enjoyed it and I thought it was a fun and cool concept. I just didn't like really connect with the characters or the storyline for that matter. So to me it felt a little bit flat at times. I still thought it was like good, but just not amazing. I just changed the lighting. I hope this made it better. But yeah, overall, just like the favorites, it was just kind of meh. It's like a middle book, like 2 to 3 stars. Well, I think I rated it 3. So around there, like either yes, but also no, you know? And then we have Zodiac Academy, which is a fantasy series that has 9 books in it and a lot more if you count like spin-offs and extra and like novellas and stuff. It's obviously an academy. In the first book, we only have 2 main characters who are twin sisters, and when they turn 18, they're told that they're actually fae and they need to come with this guy to go to the Zodiac Academy to start their training as fae people, because they're actually the heir to the throne. They are the long lost princesses that everyone thought were dead, but turns out they're not. They've just been living in the human world this entire time in foster care and stuff, and now they're being brought into the fae world. It's kind of giving Harry Potter in a little bit, like how Harry turns 11 and then he's told you're a wizard and he's like, I'm a what? And it's kind of giving the same here. Someone comes in who's a professor at the school and says, you guys are fae, and they're like, what do you mean? But the world is kind of made up of different orders, so everyone has like a different order. There are werewolves and dragons, sirens, vampires, like everything you could ever imagine is in this book basically, and everyone has an order, and it's different when you find out what it is. And obviously our 2 main characters don't know what their order is yet, but I talked about this a lot, but it's because it spans so much, because it's a fantasy series. It's 9 books, but this is an absolute yes for me. It's one of my favorite series ever. I have most of the series over here. I'm missing the last 3, but I read these in 2024 and I read all 9 books back to back. Later on, I read a spin-off series which had another 5 books, and I absolutely love this universe. I love this series. Some people will say that this series is cringe and has poor writing, and yes, do I agree to some extent? Yes, I do. But the characters, oh, they make everything better and they make everything worth it. They are perfect in every single way while also not at all being perfect. They are the most imperfect perfect characters who have every quality under the sun. They are funny, they're scared, they're strong and badass. I could go on and on. Like, I love these characters so much with my whole chest and heart and soul, and I wish I could reread this series for the first time because I just love it so much. And I want everyone to read Zodiac Academy, but when you say, hey, you should read 9 books and some of the books are over 1,000 pages long, people say, no thank you. And I say, please, please do. I love it. The next book we have is The 7-Year Slip, which is a romance, but also a little bit like fantasy, but not really fantasy. It just like has magical elements, if that makes sense. So our main character, her aunt dies and she inherits her aunt's apartment, and the apartment is magical. So sometimes when she walks into the apartment, she's somehow 7 years into the past, and this guy is in her apartment, and he only like exists inside the apartment. I mean, he exists in the real world, but when she goes out of the apartment, she's back in the present, and when she goes into the apartment, she's 7 years in the past. She falls in love and sparks a romance with this guy in her apartment, but for him it's been 7 years. Like, if they were to meet in the present tense, it's been 7 years for him since he met her, and for her it's happening right now. Such a cool concept. I know a lot of people found it kind of difficult to understand like how that would work. To me, I'm like, it's fiction. It doesn't have to like make 100% sense about how this could happen. So for me, this book was a yes. I loved it. I think I rated it 5 stars at the time. I read it in 2024, I believe. I just recently, like in the fall, I annotated it for one of my friends, and she also just recently read it and rated it 5 stars. So we can both say yes on that. I thought it was so good, and I loved the romance in it. It had me smiling, and there were beautiful quotes in this book as well. I thought the writing was just really, really well done. The next book we have is Fantasma, which is a fantasy, and I believe it's a series. I don't know if there are more than 2 books, but I've only read the first one. It's about our main character whose sister joins this thing called Fantasma, which is a deadly contest where the prize is to get one single wish. So our main character decides to also join Fantasma to try and find her sister. She ends up getting help from this guy who I don't even remember if he was like a ghost or something, but he helps her, but only if she agrees to give him 10 years of her lifespan. Insane. And obviously there's a romance between them, and we see all these different like challenges. I'm pretty sure there are 7 levels in this contest that are all based off of the 7 like sins, like wrath and pride and those things. I think I read this a while ago, and this book is a no for me. I did not enjoy it, which is why I haven't read the second one. I just thought it was quite boring. I didn't really like the writing style. I didn't like the relationship between the 2 main characters. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought it was just quite boring and fell a bit flat for me. And that's kind of all I had to say. I didn't like it, so I wouldn't recommend it. Next up, we have One Golden Summer, which is a romance. We have our main character who is a photographer, and her grandmother, I think, gets hurt and needs surgery or something. So to kind of relax, they go up to this old cottage that she spent a summer at when she was 15 or 16 years old. And she took this one photograph back then of these 3 kids out on a boat in the lake. She ends up meeting one of the guys who is on that picture because he lives across the lake. And sparks starts to fly between them, and she decides to make like this bucket list of things that she wants to do to feel young again, like all the things she would have done at 16 if she wasn't so shy and actually had dared to talk to these 3 kids who were there at the same time as her. And he decides to help her with this bucket list. So it's just like a really fun summer romance where they do all these just exciting things like cliff jumping and, you know, sailing the boat and all these things. So fun. This book was a yes for me. I read it during summer vacation and it was the perfect vibe for that. Definitely recommend to read this during the summer months, like outside. It just like gave the perfect fun, giggly summer romance vibes, and I could definitely also see this book as a movie. It is the second book after Every Summer After, like they are interconnected standalones, but you don't have to read one to read the other, and I prefer One Golden Summer, but Every Summer After is still a yes for me as well, if you are curious. The next book I'm going to talk about is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which is a fantasy, and it is about a vampire and a werewolf who is going to be married because of an arranged marriage to keep the peace between the 2 territories and the 2 species. Because in this world we have humans, vampires, and werewolves, and everyone like exists. It's not a secret for the humans that there are vampires and werewolves. Our main character is the vampire, and she decides to agree to this wedding because her best friend slash foster sister in a way has gone missing, and she believes that maybe she can find her in the werewolf territory. She decides to marry the werewolf alpha and go live in his house. Insane. I thought this book was incredible. I give it an absolute yes. I thought it was so funny, and I loved our main character. Her name is Misery. Every time she spoke, I was smiling or laughing because she was just so unapologetically funny without trying to be, but everything she said was just amazing. I loved the dialogue in this book. I had such a great time reading this book, and I definitely would recommend it because like it's a fantasy, but it's easy. It's only 1 book. It's not like a crazy fantasy plot. It's kind of like Twilight or something like that, where the fantasy aspect isn't really the plot, if that makes sense. Like it's normal people in the normal world, but they're different species as well, like vampires and werewolves. Amazing. The next book we're going to talk about is An Ember in the Ashes, which is a fantasy series, which I believe is 4 books, and I read 2.5 of them. We have a main character who is a slave and a main character who is a soldier in this like prestigious school, and his mother is like the principal or like the leader of this school, but he really wants to get out. He doesn't want to be a soldier for the emperor. He doesn't want to live under these conditions, so he wants to escape. But he starts to become friends with the slave, and she's only there to spy, to figure out where her brother is, because her brother got kidnapped by some of these soldiers, and she's trying to figure out like where he is and how to get him out. She makes an alliance with the resistance, and they make her go in there to spy and become a slave. But I am saying no to the series, which is why I only read 2.5, because I DNF'd it during the 3rd one. I really wanted to like it because one of my friends, she loves the series, and I was updating her while I was reading them, but I could not get into it. I did not care about the characters. I did not care about the storyline. Like even now, I finished it, and my friend told me what happens in the rest of the series, and just I have no desire to pick it back up. Like I was reading it and then I was listening to the audiobook at the same time to get through it faster, because I was hoping that at some point I would start to enjoy it, but I just didn't. I've said this in previous videos as well, but to me, characters are so important. If I don't like, then the whole story just falls flat. To me, the story in itself was also a bit boring, but I just especially just like did not connect to any of the characters, and that just made it fall even more flat for me. So this book and series was unfortunately a no. I was in the minority and I didn't like it. The next book we're going to talk about is Direbound, which is another fantasy. And in this book, children are getting kidnapped from their bed by these monsters, and our main character, her little sister, also gets kidnapped. So she decides to join the front lines, like the army, because she believes that the monsters are taking the children to the front lines. So she decides what better way to get there than join the army. But when she joins the army, it's bonding season, which means that everyone who signed up to go to the front lines have to participate in these bonding trials to these dire wolves, which are like huge wolves. And if they decide to bond with you, you can like talk in your minds and like you're connected, kind of like if you read Fourth Wing in the way that they bond to the dragons. This is just dire wolves instead. And obviously our main character ends up bonding with a wolf, and now she has to go to like this training camp for 2 months to learn how to become a writer and how to connect with her wolf, which she doesn't obviously have time for because she needs to find her sister, but she's forced and she can't leave the camp. This book was an absolute yes for me. It was my only fantasy 5-star read last year. I loved Direbound, and I am so excited for the second one to come out, I think in May, called Furybound. Could not be any more excited. I'm so just thrilled to read it. It was just perfect. I thought it was so good. I was so interested to learn it and all the twists and the turns and the camp and the wolves, and I thought it was so good, and I'm so excited to see more of the romance because there's a character that I believe is her love interest, but nothing has happened so far in the first book, and I just am on the edge of my seat to see them finally like have some romantic involvement. So if you want to read a fantasy that only has 1 book out yet, read Direbound. Next up we have Blue Sisters, which is like a literary fiction about 4 sisters where like prior to the book, one of the sisters has unfortunately died from I believe it was a drug overdose. Then for the rest of the book we're following these 3 sisters who are all dealing with it and navigating through their grief in different ways, and they're all imperfect characters who have a lot of faults in them, and that's what makes it kind of interesting to read about, obviously, because they all have such different lives. Like one is a model in Paris and one lives in London and another in New York. Like they're all spread all over, have very different lives, and this 4th sister was kind of the glue holding them together. She was kind of like their meeting point. So without her, they're kind of falling apart and they don't know what to do, and they're all bickering and they're fighting and just like trying to navigate through their grief of losing their sister. But this book is a maybe for me. I didn't love it like I wanted to. I thought it was just a little bit slow moving and a little bit boring at times, and it definitely is very character driven. I know that they're imperfect characters, but I just couldn't connect to it, and maybe it's just because I, knock on wood, have not experienced grief, so I couldn't connect to it on that level. Sometimes the best books and the books that we love the most are books that we can connect to and see ourselves in, because again, reading is so subjective, and because I couldn't do that to this book, it just fell a little bit flat to me. I just didn't like love it, and I felt like the chapters from what I remember are really long as well, and I don't like that either. So it was just a maybe. I would recommend it if it's a book that you would be interested in, but if it's not like your normal genre that you read, then maybe I wouldn't recommend it. And now we've made it to the very last book that I'm going to talk about, which is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is a romance, and we have our 2 main characters. Our male main character has a curse or a problem that every woman that he dates, she finds the love of her life after him, and he writes about this on Reddit. Our other main character sees this post and she realizes the same thing is happening to her. Like every guy that she dates finds the love of his life after her. So our 2 main characters decide to kind of date each other to cancel each other out, and hopefully they'll both find the love of their life after. But obviously they are each other's love of their life. They fall in love, and it was so good, and this book is a yes. It was so good, and it also has more sad themes in the books. It deals with a lot more than just the romance in the book, like how our main character is taking over custody of his, I believe it's 3 younger siblings because his mom is going to jail, and our other main characters just have a lot of family problems and abandonment issues, and it's causing issues in between their relationship. I really enjoyed this book. I love Abby Jimenez in general. I don't think there's any of her books that I would say no to. Actually, there's one that I would say maybe two, but anyways, those were all the 16 popular books that I found to talk about in this video to not make it too long. Hopefully it was a fine length. I won't know until I edit it, but maybe I can make a part 2 in the future with other popular books. But let me know your opinions about any of these books, if you read them, if you liked them or not, if there are any of these books that you agree with me on or disagree with me on. I would love to hear that as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!